With this video, I am taking part in the Infowars hashtag Patriot Challenge. The Valpentest Hammer Federal Training Center is located in Richland, Washington. It was originally set up to train Department of Energy employees and contractors working at the Hanford nuclear site. After 9/11, this facility has added many clients, ranging from Homeland Security, first responders, various military groups, both domestic and international, and many more. To help give you an idea of what is done at this training facility, here is a clip from a video they produced.
Check out the Valpentest Hammer Training and Education Center at its Richland, Washington training complex. Hammer training is as real as it gets. See for yourself. Walk down 38 life-size training devices on Hammer's 80-acre campus. Drive by 8 firing ranges at the Patrol Training Academy's 10,000-acre site. Accelerate through the curves at the 1.3-mile Emergency Vehicle Operations course.
I'm going to let that video play out down in the lower left-hand corner of the screen while I get into the finer details of why all of this is important. Hammer Training Facility is operated by Mission Support Alliance LLC. Mission Support Alliance was formed in 2008. That same year, the Department of Energy awarded Mission Support Alliance with a 10-year contract worth over $3 billion. According to a Department of Energy statement, the Mission Support Alliance LLC will provide cost-effective infrastructure and site services that are integral and necessary to accomplish the cleanup mission at Hanford. The contract actually didn't start until 2009 due to some complications. Now this is where it gets interesting and the tangled web of confusion starts. So you might want to pull up a chair and pay attention. You might want to take some notes. Now, Mission Support Alliance LLC is made up of the following companies: Lockheed Martin, Jacobs Engineering Group, and Walkenhut Services. A quick side note here, Lockheed Martin was the largest recipient of U.S. federal government contracts in 2015, according to Wikipedia. Jacobs Engineering is number 37 on that list, and Walkenhut Services is a subsidiary of G4S Secure Solutions, which is owned by GEO, who is number 44 on that list. It is important to this story to understand who is under the Mission Support Alliance umbrella and doling out the $3 billion that they were awarded from the Department of Energy. Like any good auditor, my usual practice before going out on an audit is spending some time researching the property, starting with MapQuest, then moving on to the county assessor's website, Google Earth, etc. Now this location had the benefit of a facility map provided by Hammer. It's the labels on this facility map that made me question things, as I'll explain a little further on. When I go to the assessor's site, I always check the neighboring properties. If I feel like it helps my story and is appropriate, I will ask a property owner permission to access their property. While looking at Hammer Training Facility, I noticed the property located just east of the campus is owned by an LLC. In fact, it's the only property north of Horn Rapids Road not belonging to some government entity for quite some distance. This 69.77 acre parcel, completely surrounded by the Department of Energy land, is owned by Hands-On Training Scenario Specifics LLC. I will refer to this as HOTS from now on. Hands-On Training Scenario Specifics, aka HOTS. Remember that name. When I clicked on the link to pull up the property information in more detail, I found something very interesting. HOTS is receiving a property tax exemption on this property. The problem is, an LLC cannot qualify for this exemption. The exemption is for senior citizens and disabled persons, according to the Washington State Department of Revenue website. Taxpayers who are on December 31st of the year before taxes are due are at least 61 years of age or older, or retired from regular gainful employment by reason of disability, or a veteran of the armed forces of the United States entitled to and receiving compensation from the United States Department of Veteran Affairs at a total disability rating for a service-connected disability. Go ahead and check out the rest of this property on the assessor's website. I'll soon be showing some footage I took of the property with my camera. Now you tell me if it looks the same as what you see in these pictures listed here on the website. I called the Benton County Assessor's Office to verify my understanding of the exemption is correct. And my understanding is under no circumstance is an LLC allowed to qualify for an exemption. My son is disabled and I have learned about this exemption through some conferences I have attended. The property must be under the name of the person who's qualifying for the exemption, and they must live in a residence on that property. Don't worry, y'all, the craziness is just starting to begin, so buckle up.
Thank you for calling the Benton County Assessor's Office. If you know the extension of the person you wish to reach, please press 1. For all other calls, please press 5. Or
This is where things take a turn for the worse as far as us common citizens should be concerned. Let's go back to the assessor's website. Now we know at the very least we have some sort of property tax fraud going on with HOTS. As we just heard, an LLC cannot qualify for a disabled or senior citizen tax exemption. As we scroll down, we see that for 2018, HOTS will only pay $12 for the property assessment and no property taxes at all. We can also see that they only paid $9.18 for the assessment in 2016 and 2017. The assessed value of what should be taxed is $853,880. If HOTS did pay property taxes in 2018, the bill would be $10,503.68. But we won't have any of that. Our ruling class will not be paying any of these silly taxes. Those taxes are reserved for us in the peasant class. And yes, that is some foreshadowing of what's to come. Now the next step is to uncover who this LLC belongs to. So as I begin to explain this, I want to show you the footage I took of this property. But first I want to show one last thing. This property was transferred or sold to HOTS in 2013. According to the assessor's website, under the deed and sales section, on December 18, 2013, the deed was transferred from New Tech Training Center, LLC, to Hayden Homes. Hayden Homes is a residential home construction company that covers Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. I have no idea why Hayden Homes would be involved other than to create an illusion that there is a residential house that someone could live in at least 6 months out of the year to get that exemption. Problem is, there's no house on the property. The only documented improvements were a shed or office structure of 1,800 square feet added in both 2004 and 2006. Those structures appear to be present on the northwestern part of the property. I see no houses. You be the judge. You think someone lives here 6 months out of the year? As I show the footage I took out at this property, I want to bring you up to speed on the history since the U.S. government turned it over in 2005. The Benton County Assessor's website has the grantee as Hayden Homes and the last sale date as December 18, 2013. The Benton County Auditor's website has the grantee as HOTS and the date as December 31, 2013. Both have the exact same volume and page referenced. Very interesting and fishy at the same time. In order to get to the bottom of this, I had to get my hands on a full title report. With a little help from some friends and good citizens, I was able to get a pretty clear picture of what is going on with this property at 2800 Horn Rapids Road in Richland, Washington. In 2003, National Utility Training Services, a Washington nonprofit corporation, hereafter referred to as NUTS, submitted an application to the Federal Real Property Assistance Program through the Department of Education. In April of 2005, NUTS purchased 77.46 acres along Horn Rapids Road for $1 and the promise to use the property for educational purposes. Those purposes are detailed in the NUTS amendment to their original application, which was submitted in 2005. Nuts was to use the property for those stated educational purposes for 30 years. So far, I have not been able to track down the application or the amendment. A quick side note, I just got off the phone with a representative from the Federal Real Property Assistance Program. She said the application is not a part of the public record, so she can't just hand me over the record. I thought this was the case, and I had already downloaded the FOIA form and started filling it out. Now I have all the information, though, after speaking to her, to fill out that FOIA request, so I can go ahead and get that submitted and hopefully get this application in my hands. One thing she did inform me about is that the application might not be in their office anymore. If not, it has been sent to the National Archive. Now here's the kicker. Because it's not part of the public record, I couldn't just have her tell me, no, we don't have it here anymore. I actually have to submit a FOIA request to even find out if they have it or not. If they have it, then I would be able to get it at that time. If not, then I can contact the National Archives in DC and submit a FOIA request with them. And if they have received it and processed it and properly cataloged it and are able to find the application and the amendment to that application, then I can personally go to DC and view those items. That, my friends, is transparency according to your United States government. Now this FOIA request, the Freedom of Information Act, this is something every citizen should know about and how to do. We are customers of our government. They are not our rulers. We are forced to pay into their system whether we want to or not. Now think about it. If you were forced to give a certain amount of your money to Walmart, and you found that Walmart wasn't following the rules on how to use that money or any property they purchased with that money, you would complain and you would demand changes. This is no different. The problem is our government knows we don't have a choice. We can't go somewhere else. All right, now getting back on track, the U.S. Department of Education agreed to what is on that application and signed the property to Nuts in 2005 via a quitclaim deed. Keep in mind, someone erected a storage shed or an office space of 1,800 square feet in 2004. This happened between the original application in 2003 and the amendment set in 2005. In 2005, shortly after the quitclaim deed, Nuts changed its name to National Utility Training and Education Center, hereafter referred to as New Tech Nonprofit. In 2006, a second 1,800 square foot shed or office space was added. We can see these on Google Maps and the assessor's website. They aren't visible from Horn Rapids Road on my video. Now you can access these from a driveway off of Horn Rapids Road. That driveway is currently not on HOT's property. It is on U.S. government property. The other access points to the buildings are two gates coming from roads on the Hammer campus. It looks to me like those gates are used to access the buildings that are on HOT's property. Fast forward to 2009. This is when things get hard to follow. In October of 2009, New Tech Nonprofit transferred ownership of this property to Northwest Utility Training and Education Center LLC, hereafter referred to as New Tech LLC. The problem is, this breaks the agreement with the Department of Education. The agreement states the current or future grantees of this property for the duration of the 30-year contract for educational services provided on the property must be either a tax-supported entity or a nonprofit 5013C. New Tech LLC is clearly not either of those. The Department of Education decided to let New Tech Nonprofit do this because New Tech Nonprofit said it was dissolving. They also said they would give back a little over 7 acres in 3 different parcels, 2 of which are landlocked. Now they said they'd give those parcels back to the U.S. government. New Tech LLC promised at the same time to continue the education on the property as required continuously for the 30-year period. Now, it's important from the way I read this, in order for this to be okayed and this property to actually be transferred over to New Tech LLC, they actually had to be released from the conditions of the previous deed that was issued from the U.S. government. Meaning, basically, for giving back a little over 7 acres of property and the promise to keep using it for educational purposes, New Tech LLC gets to keep over 69 acres of property for free without the conditions of that 30-year contract of providing educational services on that property. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I read it. I can only find property tax information going back to 2016 online. However, a call to the Benton County Assessor's Office revealed New Tech LLC had only paid taxes on the land from 2009 to 2010. They paid about $2,500 in taxes on an assessed value of just over $244,000. She told me starting in 2011, New Tech LLC started receiving a tax exemption on the property. I didn't ask what the exemption was for. Without knowing exactly, I assume it's the same exemption the property currently receives, which, as we mentioned, New Tech LLC would not qualify for that either. In December of 2013, New Tech LLC transferred the property to Hands-On Training Scenarios Specific LLC with a statutory warranty deed. A couple of other interesting things. In January of 2013, New Tech Nonprofit is created again, this time not as National Utility Training and Education Center, but as Northwest Utility Training and Education Center. Another thing to note, both HOTS and the new 2013 New Tech Nonprofit have an NAICS code of 999990. NAICS is the North American Industry Classification System. It's used by the federal government to help identify and track industries and business. The problem is there is no listing for any 6-digit code that goes higher than the first 2 numbers of 92. The only reference I can find to this code of 999990 is unclassifiable. The last thing to happen regarding this property was in January of 2017, HOTS filed an amendment to the 2009 deed, basically stating, oops, New Tech Nonprofit didn't really dissolve, it just did administratively. According to the Washington Secretary of State, it filed for dissolution on January 19th of 2010. The New Tech Nonprofit was opened in 2013. Also in the amendment, it states that the president of New Tech LLC forgot to sign one of the documents, so they went ahead and included it there. They also made changes to the easements on the property in this amendment. Now you've been brought up to speed on the colorful history, brief but colorful history, of this property since it was handed over from the U.S. government in 2005. I called the Hammer facility to see if they use the HATS facility currently. Hammer returned my call and informed me they don't use the HATS property. They said the reference to New Tech is on an old map and the property is now run by Regional Education and Training Center, or RETC. I do remember there was a sign on the fence along the east side of the Hammer campus with the RETC logo on it. I made a phone call yesterday to the number I was given for the coordinator of RETC. I have not heard back yet. I have done some research on my own, however. According to the RETC website, the Richland Center is used for the Horn Rapids Solar Training Project and for professional training. The Horn Rapids Solar Storage Training Project is yet to be. All I can find is it is still in the planning stages. An article from September 4th, 2016 in the Tri-City Herald stated Energy Northwest planned to build a 4-megawatt, photovoltaic solar power plant on 17 acres of the RETC property. According to Renewable Northwest, the facility is still proposed. From my research, I conclude there is a proposed 17-acre solar site for the property. My guess is it is stalled because of lack of funding. Maybe there is some professional training going on there. We will see. In all my research, some questions were answered and some were not. I do know the property never should have been transferred to Tech LLC in 2009. The rules of the Federal Real Property Assistance Program only allow the grantee to be a tax-supported institution or a nonprofit 501c3. I also know HATS is receiving a property tax exemption it does not qualify for. And I have a strong hunch Tech LLC received that same exemption from 2011 to 2013. I feel like there is more to this. While I explain, I have some pictures and then videos highlighting the training done at Hammer. Notice how it all seems to be union related? The companies owning this property since the U.S. government in 2005 have all been owned by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local Number 77 and or its leadership in Washington State. The sole registered agent of HOTS is Lewis Walter. Lewis Walter is the business manager and financial secretary of the IBU Local 77 and CTAC, which also happens to be the same address listed for HOTS. Here are some pictures of the current registered owner of HOTS, Lewis Walter, and there are plenty other pictures I can find of previous registered agents of the property as well. Notice how these pictures highlight the relationships with Washington State's political elite and the union leaders. Now remember the big government contractors that make up Mission Support Alliance? They operate the Hammer Federal Training Facility. Those corporations have major agreements with labor unions. I don't have any proof there's anything illegal going on between Hammer and the union. I am, however, having a very hard time believing there isn't something underhanded going on here. This is a property that has been owned by various LLCs registered to the leadership of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. It is completely surrounded by the Department of Energy land, and it sits right next to a federal training center that trains union workers. And finally, I want you to see a couple of clips from some banquets at Hammer, and pay attention to who the people speaking are.
Hammer is here, I think, because of the combination of really bad events, good people, and perseverance. I mean, we have the Department of State, the Department of Transportation, innumerable other things working together. I mean, this is really a solid operation now, and it's matured.
And I think this building is proof once again that U.S. government agencies can work together to get things done that contributes to the security of America as well as our friends and allies overseas.
Without a question, our president of the AFL-CIO, Rich Trumka, stated on occasion, so as previous president John Sweeney, that this is the most important partnership of labor management in the country. Labor has been involved with Hammer for every day of the 15 years from its conception. Whether it's the pursuit of funding, that we will be a partnership on Capitol Hill to make sure the facility is still able to grow and go forward.
I was at the WTP this morning looking at the tank farms, and to be able to talk with you about my favorite facility, which is Hammer. You do amazing work here at Hammer, and I just want you to know I am one of your biggest fans. This is a great partnership between labor, federal government, and the tribes.
This next clip is from Mission Support Alliance. It shows why it was important for IBU Local 77 and its agents to get the property transferred into an LLC and free of the contract from the Department of Education. A future national park at this location makes this property very sought after when it comes to future development.
And with the new national park, Hanford's story will be told for generations to come.
Our ruling class uses inside knowledge of a system it built to strip the wealth of the middle class in this country. I say ruling class because they use their cronies in high places to leverage every advantage that the regular citizens of this country don't have access to. It's time to take back our country. Know your rights.
Yeah.